Welcome to the channel where we ask the most amazing questions about our reality. Today we have one of the most stunning topics. What if everything we see, hear, feel is just an illusion? Imagine that the stars in the sky, our planet, and even you are lines of code. Ready to find out how real this scenario could be? For example, when you play a computer game, you see characters, cities, and the laws of the world that seem real. But all of this is the result of a complex program. Now imagine that you and I are characters in someone else's game, only the scale of it is unimaginable. Imagine that all the objects around us, from the majestic mountains to the tiniest particles, work according to certain laws. But what if these laws are not nature, but algorithms created by a higher intelligence? Wondering why stars twinkle or why objects fall down? It could be the result of prescribed rules, like in a game. Today, we'll uncover the simulation hypothesis, the scientific evidence, the weirdness of our reality, and most importantly, what our place is in this digital space. Think about it. Why do we experience déjà vu? Why in quantum physics do particles behave strangely when we're not looking at them? Why is the universe so perfectly set up for life? Could it be because it's all the result of code written by someone with a completely different level of intelligence? Now ask yourself the ultimate question. If this is true, what will you do? Will you try to hack the system, or will you accept the rules of the game? Buckle up. It's going to be a fascinating journey into the very core of our reality. To understand the idea of simulation, let's go back thousands of years to the philosopher Plato. He described a marvelous metaphor, the allegory of the cave. Imagine people chained in a cave. All their lives they see only the shadows of objects that pass in front of the fire behind their backs. Those shadows are the only reality they know. But what if one of them breaks out one day and sees that there is a real world outside the cave? Would he be able to convince the others that their reality is only shadows? It's as if Plato's allegory foretold the concept of simulation. We only see what we are allowed to see, but the true reality may be far more complex. Century after century, thinkers have returned to this theme. René Descartes in the 17th century pondered, what if a demon deceives us into believing in a false reality? And today we ask a similar question. What if our reality is not created by a demon, but by artificial intelligence or higher beings? Now let's talk about the influence of the movies. At the end of the 20th century, the ideas of simulation came out of philosophical treatises and into popular culture. And that's where the real revolution came with The Matrix. The main character, Neo, discovers that the world around him is an illusion created by machines. All humans are connected to a system that uploads an artificial reality to them so that they will never know the truth. The red pill becomes a symbol of waking up and coming out of the simulation. But The Matrix is not the only example. In the movie The 13th Floor, the hero discovers that his world is a computer-generated virtual simulation. In the TV series Black Mirror, the episode San Junipero suggests the idea of a digital afterlife where people's consciousnesses continue to exist in a virtual reality. These works resonate with us because they harbor a universal fear. What if our lives are not authentic? They force us to think about the limits of reality and the technologies that are already bringing us closer to creating our own simulations. So who is Nick Bostrom? Nick Bostrom is a philosopher and scientist who in 2003 formulated the simulation hypothesis. His work caused quite a furor in the scientific community. Bostrom argues that we should consider three scenarios, and one of them will definitely turn out to be true. The three possible scenarios are: the first scenario, humanity will never reach a level of technology that allows simulations so detailed that they are indistinguishable from reality. The reasons could be various: war, environmental disasters, or even self-destruction. Second scenario, advanced civilizations may reach this level of technology, but consciously decide not to create simulations. For example, for ethical reasons, they won't want to create intelligent beings who will suffer in their simulations. And the third, most exciting scenario, we are already living inside a simulation. Perhaps it's a simulation created by our descendants to study the history of their ancestors, or an experiment conducted by a higher intelligence. Bostrom's logic. If even one civilization in the universe is creating simulations, they are likely creating millions of them. Then, the probability that we are living in the real reality is vanishingly small. Most likely we are already inside one of the simulations. Computer modeling. Steps to creating your own simulations and its current advances. Today's technology is already showing us that creating simulations of reality is not science fiction, but only a matter of time. Scientists are already creating sophisticated simulations of the universe, where they model the birth of galaxies, the movement of stars, and even the evolution of planets. But simulations are not limited to space. In biology, we model the behavior of cells and viruses. In sociology, population dynamics, economics, and even the development of civilizations. All of this allows us to better understand complex processes. With the development of artificial intelligence and quantum computers, we're getting closer to creating worlds that look so realistic that they're indistinguishable from the real world. Imagine a game where objects are only loaded within the player's line of sight. Perhaps reality works on the same principle. But if that's true, then what? Does it matter if reality is real if we perceive it to be real? Errors in the code? Or glitches of reality? Déjà vu as a possible glitch. Déjà vu is a strange feeling like you've experienced this moment before. Perhaps it's process repetition in a simulation, where the system goes haywire and we experience the same fragments of time. It's as if the program is loading a scenario that's already been used. For example, you walk into a room and feel like you've already been here, even though you know that's not possible. This could be a bug in the memory algorithm of your simulation. Unexplained disappearances and synchronized events. Have you ever had cases where things just disappear and then suddenly reappear in completely unexpected places? Or strange coincidences that seem too precise to be coincidence? It could be the result of a glitch in the system. Real-life examples. Disappearing objects that are found in places where they definitely weren't. Synchronous events. A chance encounter with the person you were just thinking about. Perhaps this is a consequence of a glitch in the event system, as if a program loaded the wrong data. Possible manifestations. Errors in reality can be small but also large-scale. Incomprehensible light phenomena, strange changes in the weather, or even missing time, where you feel that more or fewer minutes have passed than they should have. Now let's talk about the pixel structure idea. Scientists are already wondering if there is a limit to the divisibility of space and time. In a computer game, everything is made up of pixels. At first glance, the image appears smooth, but when you zoom in, you see individual dots. What if our reality is also discrete? Modern experiments, such as the study of gravitational waves and quantum gravity, are trying to find out if there is a minimal unit of space, the so-called Planck length. If such pixels exist, it would be a strong argument in favor of the simulation hypothesis. Imagine you are looking at a smooth surface that appears to be perfect. But under a microscope, you see that it's made up of tiny dots. If scientists find similar structures in space, it could confirm that our universe is built on the principle of computer graphics. If we one day find reality pixels or realize that observation changes physical processes, are we willing to accept that our reality is a simulation? Or will we continue to live as if nothing happened? Imagine that gravity changes. What if suddenly the force of gravity weakens or strengthens? For example, objects would start floating in the air, or conversely, even the slightest step would become unbearably heavy. It could be like a glitch in the code, where the gravitational force parameter was accidentally changed or misapplied. Imagine that people suddenly start levitating, cars can no longer drive, and water from the oceans rises into the air. That would create real chaos. Temporary anomalies. A glitch in the system can manifest itself as a disruption of time. For example, it starts to go backwards. People get younger. Events happen in reverse order. You might be coming home after work and then see how you just left the office. The movie Tenet shows this as a phenomenon of reverse entropy. But what if it becomes part of our reality because of a glitch in the system? Disappearance of stars and objects. Imagine looking at a city, and suddenly part of it disappears, leaving empty space. People who were in those areas disappear without a trace. Global anomalies. Another possible scenario is a random change in fundamental laws. For example, water ceases to be a liquid at room temperature, sound travels faster than light, or magnetic fields start reversing their polarity every second. It would be like a catastrophic failure in the reality code. Could there be contact with the creators? How could we hack the simulation? If we realize we're living in a simulation, the next logical step is to try to hack it. What might that look like? We might find a way to send a signal up through the system to its creators. Possible hacking options. Using quantum computers to generate signals that go beyond the simulation. Finding weaknesses in physical laws that can be used as portals to another reality. What do we ask the creators? If we manage to contact those who created the simulation, what do we ask them? Perhaps the first question will be, why did you do this? Maybe it's an experiment, a game, or a way to explore their past. Imagine you're talking to the architect of the simulation. He says, "We created your reality to understand how you humans deal with crises." What if he says, "You are a random program that evolved without our intervention"? Would they reveal the truth to us? But what if the creators refuse to give answers? Maybe their goal is to keep the illusion alive for us, because the realization could destroy everything we believe in. If we realize we can interact with the architects of the simulation, it would change everything. We might be able to ask them to change laws, fix glitches, or even transcend our reality. But are we ready to know the truth? Are we ready to accept that everything we've known is just an illusion created by someone else? And what do we do if we can hack the system? Breaking the system or contacting its creators would open us to new horizons, but it would also raise difficult questions about our role in this world. Imagine you are playing a video game where your character is experiencing fear or joy. To you, it's just a game, but to the character inside the system, his feelings are absolute reality. What if we are those characters too? The problem of meaning. It may seem that if we live in a simulation, our lives lose meaning. But think about it. Isn't meaning created by ourselves? We infuse our actions with meaning. The reality we live in is important because we feel it is important. Even if reality is a simulation, our actions still matter. How we treat others, how we build relationships, how we make decisions affects the world around us. For example, if you help someone, your action creates a real effect for that person, regardless of whether reality is artificial. Good remains good, evil remains evil, regardless of the form of existence. We must remember, even though we are part of the simulation, we have no right to destroy it or harm other characters. What if other people are not just artificial intelligence, but conscious beings like us? Then their lives have the same value. Vernor Vinge's Level Players touches on the idea that simulation is not a game. Destroying the world of simulation may not be an ethical choice, but an act of destroying someone's reality. Creating significance. Simulation or not, we still strive for progress, knowledge, love, and happiness. These are what make us human. Even if we are artificial, our desire for the best remains genuine. So what conclusion can we draw? If reality is a simulation, it doesn't change the fact that it is important to us. We live in it, we create it. Perhaps the main purpose of life is not to know its origins, but to make it better for ourselves and others. What is more important to you? Finding out if reality is real, or learning to live in such a way that your everyday brings joy and meaning? After all, in the end, that's what really matters. So, we've looked at how the idea of simulation moves from Plato's philosophy to modern technology, deconstructed scientific hypotheses, and even imagined what might happen if the system fails. So, where does that leave us in the dry? Perhaps everything around us is a carefully scripted code. Our homes, the stars overhead, even our own bodies are elaborate simulations created for a purpose. Maybe we're part of an experiment or entertainment for higher beings. Why this doesn't diminish the value of our lives? But let's think about it. Does it really matter if our reality is real? We feel joy, we love, we pursue our dreams. All of these things are absolutely real to us. Even if it's an artificially created world, it doesn't cancel out the fact that we create meaning in it. When we look at a painting, we don't think about what the colors are made of. We just enjoy its beauty. In the same way, our life can be beautiful if we learn to appreciate its moments. Now I want to ask you, what would you do if you found out you were living in a simulation? Would you try to find a way to get out of it, or would you take it for granted and continue to live as before? Would you decide to study the simulation to understand its rules? Or on the contrary, would you start changing it to suit yourself, like an experienced player? Imagine you were given a choice. Stay in the simulation and continue living your life, or come out of it, but into a completely unknown reality. Which path would you choose? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure each of you has a unique opinion, and I'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Here we regularly ask the most unusual questions about the nature of reality, the universe, and our place in it. Thank you for being with us today. Remember, whether our reality is real or a simulation, we create it with our actions, emotions, and thoughts. See you in the next video.